Welcome back to the channel. We're here for the last time on this channel with my Dell 3880, which for 2020, 2021, now 2022 is the cheapest brand new Dell they would sell me. Over the course of about 20 videos, which are in a playlist I will link up there and down in the description, I transformed this guy from the cheapest one they would sell me into this guy, which is a fully standalone custom-built PC. Just to say it again, since I don't know if I've said it enough throughout this series, I did that one, just to illustrate that it can be done, and two, for YouTube content. I did this more or less for my own personal amusement and to share with you guys. This is not necessarily a prescription for anything that anyone else should do. With that said, now that it's all behind me and the series is complete, I thought I would share some of my thoughts about things I learned along the way and how the market is looking right now, and more or less form an opinion of whether or not this machine is still viable for people to buy today. The very short and sweet of it is, my opinion on buying the cheapest new Dell you can buy, pretty much at any point in time in the last 20 years, is always that as long as you understand what it is that you're getting and know what you want to do with it, you're going to be in fine shape. Right now, with the way inflation is and the supply side economics and everything of getting pieces to actually sell computers, the prices on these things are crazy. The cheapest one Dell has right now is $500. Without adding up the sum total of the parts in it, I don't know if that's genuinely a good or bad deal. But Dell's typical cheap computer price is right around $400. And usually for $400, you almost cannot go wrong, because you can't even buy the parts they put in it for $400, let alone a Windows license or anything else. And just like everything in the world, that's more or less what Dell is banking on by offering that really low price point PC. They're hoping that that's not the one you buy, that you're going to buy the more upmarket models, which to an extent still represent a pretty good value depending on other market conditions. But as you buy that up price model, their profit margin on it goes up. So it has been my experience in the past with these things that what you're looking at when you buy a cheap Dell is you're looking at a RAM upgrade and a storage upgrade, and that's it. That's where you should stop with these things. And seldom does Dell offer a model that is that, because they want to keep pushing you on up that product tree. So for this guy, and I have the benchmarks to back me up on this, the smart thing to do was to go to dual channel RAM. So we doubled the amount of RAM by adding a second chip. That is a big deal with this generation of Intel processor. And we took it from a really slow hard drive to a really fast SSD. If we just stopped right there, this would have been about a $500 computer and would have been a really, really good performer for just a home office type PC. The one thing I got burned on this harder than I expected, but I knew going in, was the optical drive. Unfortunately, a lot of my audience has been burned on this as well, and a lot of people are straight up angry about their machine not coming with an optical drive. And I don't want to kick anybody when they're down, but Dell is pretty clear on the fact that when these machines don't come with an optical drive, they don't come with one. Everything that's included in the PC is written on the side of the box. And if you order straight from Dell, their specifications are pretty clear about what's in there too. Oh, and I should take a minute here to say that I highly encourage you to order straight from Dell. There's just a whole lot less confusion about what it is you're buying. Plus, you're going to get the newest possible computer that you can. It hasn't been sitting in a warehouse for weeks or months or who knows. They build it when you buy it, and the wait time is usually only a week or two. Plus, Dell usually has at least as good a pricing as the retail stores, sometimes much better. They also offer financing and all that kind of good stuff. And the biggest thing is, if you buy it and it's sent to you by your name, it is registered for warranty from the first day that you turn it on, with no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Dell support sucks. I think everybody knows that, but you are legally entitled to your warranty, so get as much of it as you can if you ever need to use it. If you buy at a box store and it's been sitting in a warehouse for 6 months before you got there and you don't do the goofy online registration stuff, Dell's going to say that 6 months of your warranty is already gone. You can read reviews of that happening to people everywhere. So there's just a whole bunch of reasons to buy directly from Dell, or for that matter from any other vendor directly. If you're going to buy an HP, buy it straight from them. Just avoids a whole lot of trouble in the end. And really, a lot of these retailers, they're not your friend anyway. Best Buy is going to make your experience probably worse, especially if you ever need to work back through Dell. That's my opinion. Take it with as big of a grain of salt as you might like. Now, this particular case design, when people looked at it, they assumed it had a drive in it just because of the way it looked without one. That was a styling decision on Dell's part that I don't know if I really have a strong opinion about. I find it to be a generally handsome looking design in either event, and I'm sure that's more or less what they were going for. I don't think they were trying to fool anybody. Usually when there's an optical drive in something, you'll see a button and a light on it, and oftentimes it'll say something here. The factory Dell drive doesn't say anything, but it for sure has a button and a light. You know, we got a button and a light over here on this full-size guy too. But no matter, as long as you know what's in there or what you're going to need to do before you buy it, you'll be in good shape. Likewise, I made a buyer's guide video, I think like a year and a half ago now, where if you wanted a machine to intentionally upgrade, say you wanted to buy this machine and then put a top-end graphics card in it, that there are better machines in the Dell lineup to do that to. Fortunately now, that video is starting to gain some traction. I just looked at it and it's at like 10,000 views, which for my channel is a huge runaway success. So I'm hoping that people are understanding that maybe if they want to put $1,000 graphics card into a machine that's stepping into like a Dell XPS, hopefully not an Alienware, but you know, subject to change in the future. But one of those higher product lines may suit them better. Something that comes with a better power supply right out of the box. Something that's in a little bigger chassis, so it's just easier to work with. You know, like the custom guy we ended up building. It's just a larger case, so it's easier to put larger graphics cards and stuff in. And in a lot of cases, the XPS line versus the Inspiron line equivalent, the pricing is almost the same. It's only maybe $100 between them. It just depends on what day you look and what you're shopping for. One thing I would absolutely never, ever advise anyone do in this form factor, be it, you know, you're buying a used one, be it a 3880 or what, a 3888, or I think there's a 3910 and blah, blah, blah. Anything that basically looks like this. Dell's still using this case, so I'm assuming they're still going to keep the same general architecture, is do not spend any more money for any CPU that you do not have to buy, because the motherboard simply will not utilize it. Dell locks down the processors in these things to their rated die power, which in this generation of CPU is 65 watts, period. It doesn't matter how hot or cold the CPU is, that's all the power they feed it. In the case of the i7 that I tried in both of these machines, that equated to about a 30 to 40% loss in performance. But you're still paying every single dollar for that i7 when you buy it from Dell. So just keep that in mind going in. If you're going to buy one of these because you got a good deal on it and you're just going to harvest the parts, then, you know, sure, go ahead, buy the i7 if it's a good bargain for you to do that at the time. But I would not give Dell $1 extra in CPU to put it in that board, because you're just not going to get anything back out of it. But otherwise, those are pretty much my only big complaints. I bought this guy knowing it was a bargain budget computer because it was the cheapest one I could get. Of course it was. I didn't expect it to have a big killer power supply in it. It didn't. Didn't expect it to have a lot of drive bays. It doesn't. You know, all that kind of stuff that you would expect with a budget PC is pretty much exactly what I got. I'm surprised by how well we were able to overcome some of the problems with it. Like, I had no issue at all populating the entire machine with more drives than it has SATA connectors for, so that wasn't an issue for me. To my surprise, most of my audience really did not care at all about putting a larger factory Dell power supply in this thing. So those things are still all over eBay right now for like $30. So you can run a middle-of-the-road competent graphics card in one of these with a very inexpensive secondhand power supply and have a pretty competent machine for not a lot of money. And that is where I think you should stop. So yeah, buy one of these things as long as you know what it is you're getting, as long as you understand where to stop with it. Oh, and also be advised that you basically are not going to get any support from Dell. I think there's a lot of people who have maybe first-time buyer or first-time customer service interactions with Dell who are surprised when they call them to hear Dell say, well, we can't sell you an optical drive after spending an hour on hold with them. That's what happened to me. I wasn't a surprise. I just did it because it's part of the job. It's what I'm doing here. Got the same experience with HP, by the way. It's nothing unusual. So when you buy one of these, just be aware you're not going to get any after the sale service. I think the same thing is true if you buy it from a brick and mortar store. I think Best Buy carries Dells. I think some people are getting them at Costco, places like that. The people that work there aren't going to know anything more about these than you do, probably. So really this rambly, probably 10-minute at this point video is all to say, you know, just buyer beware. Make sure you understand what it is you're buying. Make sure you know its limitations. If you plan to radically exceed those limitations, buy something else. Even if it is a good bargain, we'll say at $400. $400 is still more money than you're going to find walking down the street. You can spend that $400 at a local PC shop. You can spend it at Amazon, building your own thing. You can do a lot of things with that money to get you a better starting point than you would get with the Dell if you have aspirations much, much higher than that. But if you don't, you just need a PC to do PC kind of stuff, It's a great bargain. You cannot beat them. And to my surprise, no matter what stupid thing I attempted to do, this one never beat me. I was always able to make it do whatever I wanted it to do as far as upgrades and moving it between chassis and everything else. And it was a fun experiment doing it. And so I'm glad you guys were here to follow along with that and enjoy some of that experience with me. I've shown everything about it that has a broad enough audience appeal to make sense to show. A few people have asked for some kind of niche things that I think if they've watched the rest of the series, they're able to figure out on their own how to do it. This isn't the end of this PC or this PC on YouTube. They will just be featured on my tech-based channel, which is The Broken Tech, which I will link up there and down in the description as well. So if you want to follow along with their futures and the future of other tech-based projects, be sure to subscribe up over there. As far as what's going on over here, we're done, and I appreciate you guys stopping in for it. And we'll catch you on the next video if you choose to be here for it.